Hi, I'm Elliott Forrest, and welcome to another Artist Check-In. Today, the singularly spectacular cellist Joshua Roman. His latest album is called Immunity. It was created in response to long COVID that he's had and others have had as well. This fall, Joshua will tour the Immunity program to long COVID clinics across the United States, giving intimate performances to patients suffering from this chronic illness. In addition, there'll be a record release performance at the Crypt in Manhattan on November 15th, sponsored by Death of Classical. Joshua, great to see you again.
You too, Elliot. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the long COVID. How did you know you had it as opposed to just having COVID and having it be over?
I had a pretty extreme experience in terms of the strange COVID symptoms of that heavy fatigue, which anyone who's had it will recognize it as very different from being tired as we generally experience. So that was keeping me from walking very far, even making it up to the top of the stairs, and it just didn't go away. My smell and taste returned after 10 days. By the way, this was January 2021, so I hadn't had the vaccine yet because I think at that point you had to be 65 or a healthcare worker or something like that. So my extreme cognitive issues and physical issues just didn't abate. They got a little bit easier, but not enough, and that didn't change. So it was pretty intense.
How did that impact you both personally and your cello playing schedule?
I think the biggest thing is that it knocked me back on my heels. I'm a person who's very prideful about my ability to do things, whether that's to perform, whether that's to exercise, to push through things. You know, if you're getting a cold, then you take the vitamin C and run 6 miles and it'll cure you. That sort of thing. I even had my mile under 6 minutes, which I maybe is my favorite thing to brag about now because I can't run at all anymore. But those things were taken away from me, all of those by COVID. And by long COVID. So I really immediately was put in the position of trusting others in a way that I haven't, at least in my adult life, that I haven't had to. And it's hard to overstate how much that changes your perspective.
My word. Let's talk about the recording, the Immunity project that you have. Let's talk about what's on the album, and then we'll talk about the tour.
Yeah.
What music did you decide would help you and others?
This album covers quite a lot of ground. For me, it ended up being a story about the cello through time and taking Bach as a starting place and ending with a piece that I've written recently, as well as a couple of arrangements of things and many pieces written by living composers. But that wasn't the original thought. The original impetus actually was, what's the music that's been important to me on my journey with long COVID? And each of those pieces was chosen for either a moment that they represent in my journey. For example, the first time I played the cello after 2.5 months of letting it collect dust, and which is, I'm an everyday practicer. So 2.5 months is a long time, is longer than I ever imagined I could go without playing the cello. And I really had a lot of doubts, but then I picked it back up, and the feeling of that cello moved me to tears. And it was Bach. It was the prelude that we all know and love, and I've played thousands of times. So that's on there. Other pieces represent overcoming certain challenges or understanding the new way that I approach music with long COVID. And together it's definitely representative of, you could say, a healing journey, but it's not a meditation album.
Can music heal? Has it been beneficial to both play and hear the music for you and others?
That's a very good question. And it's a hard one to answer because I think it's not the answer that people want to hear. Music is challenging for me now. I was A lot of this sort of came out of a concert I was asked to do for Princeton University concert series for a Healing with Music series. And my friend Dasha invited me to think about this question: what music has been important on your healing journey? And it was hard because I'm not really healed very much. I'm getting better at managing symptoms, and I can do a lot that I couldn't do, but I'm not really healed. And so this question of, has the music helped me heal? The answer is that it has been a motivator, that I love music. I love feeling vibration. I love sharing and connecting with people. The music itself sometimes is challenging and takes a lot of energy out of me, but the process of preparing, of thinking about it, of building something, and of sharing it, that is so much of what I love about being alive and connecting with people, and that is healing.
I want to ask specifically about a couple of pieces. First of all, Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. I mean, who doesn't love that?
It's pretty great.
Whether it's a vaccine or not is probably beside the point. Between how we feel just hearing the music and feeling that sense of life, right?
Cohen's Hallelujah really makes that point. It's about brokenness. It's about the essential, inherent imperfection of being human, and that's enough. And I love that. I absolutely love that.
Tell me about the tour to the clinics. Where are you going? Who's invited to come? Who have you played for? Who will you play for?
So the long COVID clinic tour, I'll tell you first of all how it started was that when I built the project, the idea was to tour it to main stage recital series on classical with classical presenters. And the idea to offer it as an add-on when I'm playing a different performance, for example, a concerto with an orchestra, came pretty quickly. And one of the first of those was with the Oregon Symphony, and they agreed and brought me in a day early. So I went to OHSU in Portland and performed for their long COVID clinic. And Elliot, I think a lot of the listeners will have either been in or performed for, or at least know about concerts where the audience shares a particular bond. You know, I've played in prisons, in jails, refugee centers, hospitals. This was the first time I'd ever gone into that kind of situation, sharing the bond with the audience. And the feeling in the room was so powerful that I don't even think I needed to play. We could have all just sat there and looked at each other, because long COVID is new. It doesn't have the same support network that other illnesses do yet. And a lot of people have never gathered with other patients before. So this was a first in a lot of ways for the people there, myself included. And it was so powerful that we decided that long COVID clinic performances are not just an add-on, they're an end to themselves. So these tours to long clinics across the country are specifically for patients and their family, their caregivers, and we partner with clinics. So far this fall, I've been to Aurora and Fruita, Colorado, and to St. Louis, Missouri.
Where are we with the treatment slash management of long COVID?
So right now we're making a lot of progress in managing symptoms. I have gone through all kinds of neuropsychology programs, a breathing program a couple of times, physical therapy, which touch and go, all sorts of other very interesting studies, diet things. And some of these help a little bit to be able to manage. One crazy example is Alexander technique. I feel like I can do so much more now because I'm using my energy better. Not that I have more energy at all, but that I'm better at using the energy I do have. And that's really all we've got right now for long COVID. Some people, like my mother, get completely cured through one of these treatments. The rest of us are seeing something like a 5 to 10% increase in ability, but still managing the symptoms.
That there must be a sense of vulnerability, a sense of challenging resilience, and how much you can come back and how much you can do. Has that been on your mind?
Very much so. It's something that I really thought about when Dasha asked me to play on the Healing with Music series for Princeton University concerts. Can I go on stage and talk about not being 100%? And it's hard. I do imagine that there are people who are not calling me to do things because they don't know what I can and can't do. And I feel very confident in my ability to manage symptoms and choose the things that I can do. But I know that this gets lost in translation, and this is my livelihood. So it's also what I really love to do. So I feel very passionate about this new direction. And you said the word vulnerability. That is at the heart of the project, is learning to embrace, not only accept, but to embrace vulnerability. This is just like the lyrics of Hallelujah. This is essential to me now, that rather than trying to prove something, of course, I work really hard. I think I'm playing better than ever. I believe I sound better than ever, but it's not really about that. It's about the connection. And for that connection to happen, I have to be vulnerable and open if I'm going to invite you to do the same. And that's the constant challenge for me as a recovering perfectionist and a very committed performer, is to keep myself open and really, really share. And it's hard, but I think it's what makes us human and what makes us connect, and it's what life is about.
Joshua Roman, you're sending out healing vibes to others while you play, and all of us here at QXR and our listeners are sending you healing vibes as well. Best of luck to you. Congratulations on the new album and continued healing for you.
Thank you, Elliott. You too.
WQXR's Artist Check-ins are made possible with generous support from Rose Herschel.